Hello, welcome to another exciting episode of Community Central. I'm Cheryl Gowdie. On today's show we will focus on stress diagnosis from the inside out. I acquired over 20 years experience as a human resources practitioner, business leader, consultant, lecturer and coach. My prior roles was Director of Human Resources for a CPA practice, and more recently I was Managing Director of a human resources consulting business. I currently run a coaching and consulting practice, and I work with senior professionals, enabling them to achieve exceptional outcomes, particularly helping them to achieve their business and professional goals. The lack of regulation. The lack of regulation means that the barriers to entry is very low, so it means that anyone can set themselves up as a coach overnight, regardless of whether or not they have the skills or competence to do so. We would suggest to clients that before appointing a coach, they need to ensure that they are a member of a professional body such as the Worldwide Association of Business Coaches or the International Coach Federation. To be a member of these bodies, individuals must be trained, they must have sufficient credential, but in addition they must maintain appropriate continuous development, and they have rigorous ethical standards that as coach we need to abide by. Stress is a mental or emotional state or tension associated with adverse or difficult, challenging condition. Stress does not always have to be negative, but what is concerning about stress is continuous stress. For example, we know that in the brain, when we are stressed, there's an alert mechanism that warns the rest of the body that we're stressed. In particular, we know that there are various substances that are flown through the body when an individual is stressed. Particularly, one of the most concerning parts would be cortisol. Cortisol is a process or a substance that pushes blood pressure and blood sugar through the vein. Clearly, an excess of that substance. So if someone remains stressed continuously, it means that that level of blood pressure and blood sugar is high. The destructive side of it is that it then suppresses their immune system, and there's a risk of not just health concerns with stroke and heart disease, but it destroys the brain cell. So if you think about someone in a work environment who is stressed because they're struggling to do a particular job, the more they're stressed, the more cortisol is being produced, and so this whole cycle of the stress and the impact continues. So what we would generally say is for individuals to really identify what is going on in order to eliminate the stress, in order to reduce the cycle that is caused by this effect. There are a range of factors that create stress for individuals. For a number of people, the constant change, it might be political change, economic change. We have shut down a couple of weeks ago. That will impact individuals. But more importantly, for some people, it's a lack of capability. They find it difficult to do a job. They are working with leaders or managers who are not as capable. In addition, relationships. They're struggling with professional relationships, be that their colleagues or their bosses, they don't get on with them. Systems and processes, lack of resources, all of these things combine to create pressure and stress in the workplace. It would be fair to say that our experience shapes how we respond to stress. For those of us who've been through particular experiences in life or education, the way that we were brought up, we are more resilient to particular types of stress. But it doesn't mean that we are not faced by stress. But for others, they might find it much more challenging to deal with those conditions. We know, for example, in terms of the work that has been undertaken by Myers and Briggs, they've developed Carl Jung's work in terms of personality types, which is sort of 16 personalities working through sort of 8 different dimensions. If we look at the first 2 of those dimensions, being the extroversion and the introversion preference, someone who is as an extroversion preference is going to be more vocal about how they're feeling. they'll think aloud, whereas someone with an introversion preference is going to be much more reflective and will simply withdraw. So if we're thinking about a sense of someone being stressed, the person who's probably more extroverted in their approach might express it more readily than someone who's introverted, where they will simply just withdraw, and maybe people working around them may not have a clue that they're stressed, as perhaps someone who's expressing, slamming doors, shouting, etc. Okay, so we started by looking at what stresses the individual first and foremost, and secondly, how they respond to stress. Where we're dealing with stress in a less constructive manner, it means that we'll be doing all the ridiculous things associated with overeating, drinking, oversleeping, all of the things that are perhaps likely to have a negative effect, not just on oneself, but on the relationships. But more constructive mechanisms are likely to be quite, things like just being open and honest about what's going on around you, what's happening to you, talking to other people, maintaining a sense of proportion. Sometimes we catastrophize everything. We think about the next day is going to have a nervous breakdown, our car is not going to work. But looking at life from a more positive perspective, tackling difficult issues. If something's bothering us, it's about addressing it rather than leaving it to mount up. Simple things like avoiding unnecessary stress, identify what stresses us, but trying to change the environment so that we are deviating from those things. Appropriate rest and relaxation. For most people, they're struggling with stress because they've not had time to rest. It's too fast a pace. And last but not least, injecting a little bit of humor. It just helps us to deal with the curveball that life throws at us, and we certainly won't know when they're coming. But certainly a bit of laughter, humor does help to oil the wheel. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back after this. Hello, Candice.
Hi.
Good afternoon. Thanks for joining me today.
Thanks for having me.
Okay. So, this coaching session, what I want to really start by finding out is what you would like to achieve from the discussion today.
Well, I would just like a better insight on how I can grow my audience for my small online business.
So tell me a little bit more about your business.
Well, I sell accessories, mostly beauty products, accessories, natural beauty products like black soaps and Afrocentric type accessories, but I want to broaden what I sell as well when it comes to accessories so I can reach a different audience than what I have now.
So what are the sorts of things that you'd like to do to broaden the kinds of accessories you now sell?
I guess I want to see what other people are wearing, what they like, and add, because usually I only put what I like on my shop, so I want to be more open to adding different things that other people would like, that I wouldn't necessarily like but other people do.
Okay.
So I guess being a little bit more open-minded.
Okay, so what are some of the things that you think other people might like that you're not currently showing in your shop?
Probably when it comes to jewelry and accessories, I usually pick out more timid things like little Buddhas and stuff like that. But I see people like fashion, blingies, gold, standoutish type pieces. And it's going to be hard to add that because I don't like that type of things, but that's what I see that they like.
Okay. So tell me about the audience you're trying to reach.
Well, instead of just Afrocentric type women like myself, I want to reach Caucasian, Asian, everyone, anyone.
Okay.
So not just one type of audience.
And what would your ideal client look like in terms of this growth and expansion of the business?
Everyone. No, just not just one type of audience. I want it to reach any and everyone.
Okay.
If
So
that makes sense.
yeah, certainly does. So as you grow the business, let's say you take it in stages, is there a particular audience you want to target first, and then having done that you move to the next, and so on and so forth?
Well, I feel like I've targeted the audience that I've wanted to so far, but I just feel the urge to want to grow my business now, not just stay with that one audience that I have now.
Okay. How do you go about advertising your business at the moment?
Now I use social networks.
Okay.
Like Facebook, YouTube.
How successful have those been?
Really, really good. It's been working really well for me, for this audience that I have now.
Right, okay. So in terms of reaching a wider audience, what other sort of medium do you think you might use that you're not currently using?
That's where I'm stuck. That's where I don't know what.
Okay. So what do you, from your knowledge, do others do?
From what I see, when I see other people broadcasting their businesses, they use the same outlets that I'm using, YouTube and Instagram and Facebook. So maybe, I don't know what I'm doing wrong there.
Where perhaps it's not you're doing wrong, that it's, if what you're doing works with the top market you're working with, it may be fine. It's just that now you want to broaden that.
Yeah.
So perhaps if we think about outside of your business, how do you think others have broadened their range, their advertising? What do they currently do that you're not doing?
I think probably stepping outside of just social networks, actually going out into like the real world. And
okay, so tell me a little bit more about the real world. What does that look like?
Like going to events and social, like networking and things like that. That's what I don't do.
Okay. So what is it that is inhibiting you from doing that at the moment?
I guess I feel more comfortable just being home and doing it from home, but I know I need to step out of just being home and actually start going out into different areas and networking.
Okay, so what has caused the discomfort for networking?
I guess because I've never done it. And I've done this like over social networks for so long, I'm so comfortable, and I've never done it outside of social networks. I don't know where to start, really.
Yeah. Okay. Describe networking to me from your perspective, for what you know.
Meeting new people.
Yeah.
Explaining your business to them and getting them involved in your business and passing out your business cards and showing them what you do and how you've grown and really just selling yourself to people in a friendly way though.
Yeah. Okay. And so for a young entrepreneur, others who are involved in networking, where do you think they currently go for networking? What do you think they currently do?
I think they probably go on social networks and see events that may be going on and actually go to the event.
Okay, but the type of networks that you think, events that they go to,
I really don't know. Where to find that?
Okay, so you're in the fashion, perhaps, is that, you describe it as fashion. So if you're selling fashion, where might you go? So I'm taking you outside of your social network.
Yeah.
Where might you go? Where might you go and see beautiful, wonderful things being sold?
Like an art district downtown Miami.
Okay, tell me a little bit more about that.
Just like Wynwood, downtown Miami. There's a lot of creative people there.
How do they attract those people?
By networking. You mean how do they attract those people to their business? I think by going out and networking in those areas. Yeah.
Okay. Have you heard of the Chamber of Commerce?
No, I have not.
Okay. What about other social events? Church, school?
I mean, yes, churches. I haven't really thought of going to any schools or colleges or anything like that. Because I mostly go through social networks to get to colleges and things like that. I never thought of actually going out to a campus and networking.
Have you ever seen the kinds of things, beautiful things that you sell, been presented in other ways?
Campus?
Yeah.
I have.
Yeah. Okay. So potentially campus. What are the target audience might you attract in to a different medium?
From a campus?
Could be campus, but where else might you attract your target audience?
I don't know.
Okay. Let's take a break and we'll come right back. In respect of the, if you were to think about the ideal client you're trying to attract through the means that you're proposing to use, describe that person to me. Because earlier you said anyone, it's almost anyone who wears jewelry.
Yeah.
But in developing your business, the more pointed, the more targeted your audience, the more successful your business development strategy will be. So if you had to strip it back and say what your ideal client might look like, that will then inform the kinds of mechanisms or tools or forums you use.
Okay.
So describe to me what your ideal client might look like.
Someone who's open to trying new things, not just, they don't have just one type of style, they're eccentric.
Yeah. What age group would you say you're targeting?
From, I'll say like 16 to 45,
Yeah.
50, older. I mean, any age really. I just want them to be eccentric and open-minded.
Yeah.
That's what I would want.
Okay. So earlier you talked about you choosing items that you like. Tell me, how will you transition from that position to a position where you're selecting this whole range of articles for your client base?
I guess I would get other people's opinions on, I would choose different type of like jewelry that I necessarily want to wear.
Yeah.
And I'll display it to the public and see how they react to it before putting it on my site, I guess.
Yeah. Okay. So do you have perhaps others who have a different taste to yours that you might work with, or how do you propose to identify?
Kind of like a partnership with someone else?
No, in the sense of someone who has a different taste to yours. Do you know, are there many other people who have different tastes to you who might help you to develop that collection?
Yeah. I know a lot of people who would not wear the same things I would wear other type of jewelry that I don't necessarily like, but they do.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay. So what would you like to take away from, what do you plan to take away from this discussion today?
I will definitely be more open myself, more open-minded myself. I'm saying I want an open-minded person to shop in my shop, but I need to be more open-minded. So that's what I take away from this.
Good.
Which is amazing.
And how committed you are to doing that?
I'm very committed.
On a scale of 1 to 10, with 10 being
12.
high.
Number 10.
Yeah, 10. Okay. Are there any sort of other points that you'd like to just explore before we finish today?
Everything's an answer for me.
Okay. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you.
Have a wonderful day. Thank you. Thanks for tuning in to this edition of Community Central.